Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we'll go over the Real Heroes 400 at Darlington Raceway on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, May 17th. Let me just start this video off by saying I really miss doing NASCAR content, so I'm so glad it's back. I've missed actual racing. I'm sure you guys have as well, but just glad to be back. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like. I know it's something really simple, just leaving a like, but the more you guys like the video and engage in the comment section, the more people are going to see my content. Obviously, the more people that see my content, the more it's going to help me out. So I do appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well hit that subscribe button because I'm going to be here all season long trying to help you guys out as much as I can, becoming better NASCAR DFS players. And you might as well hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I post new content. And if you're going to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Pennell16, getting close to 1,000 followers on there. I'll try to retweet as much important information that I can. Also tweet out my own stuff, and you can hit me up in the DMs or just tweet at me, and I'll try to answer you as fast as I can. And if you're going to support me over on Patreon, I really do appreciate that. I put a lot of extra work into the extra content that I put out over there. So if you like the free stuff I do on YouTube, you're probably going to like the extra content that I put out on Patreon. So if you're interested in Patreon, you can hit the link in the description below. I think it's a big orange circle. You can't miss it. And if you do hit that, it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And it just tells you pretty much everything you can get access to. You get access to my entire NASCAR model, my cheat sheet, my data sheet, which I preview for you guys on YouTube. But I have the whole I don't show the whole thing on there because there's a lot of extra stuff that I put on my spreadsheet. My Discord chat, where you can ask me all the questions you want, bug me as much as you want, I don't care. My projections, which have been pretty good so far this season. I've had a couple of people take down some tournaments just plugging my projections into an optimizer and letting that go. My core plays, my weekly article, my tier rankings, my GPP exposure, so you know exactly where my money's going, and my power rankings that I made a statistical power ranking system on my spreadsheet, and it'll give you like chances to be able to dominate the race, place differential plays, that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, hit the link in the description below, take it here, and if you want to support me on Patreon, it's much appreciated. And without further ado, I think that's enough plugging. Let's get into the preview of this race. And actually, let me say, yes, I know my hair is terrible, but I haven't been able to get a haircut in like 2.5 months. I can actually get one tomorrow, so I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I know my hair is a mess right now. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, this is the Real Heroes 400. There's the outline of the track. This is Darlington Raceway. It is a steep oval, and it's 1.3 miles in length. There's going to be nearly 300 laps, which means we get about 220 Dominator points available, which means you got to be able to get the right Dominators in your lineup, because if you guys don't play Dominators, you're probably not going to win any money. So you got to have Dominators, pretty much 1 to 2 per lineup. And just some strategy for this track. I mean, it's nothing too special. You're going to want the 1 to 2 Dominators. Sometimes there's 3, but again, this is a shorter race than the Southern 500 like there usually is, or Bojangles, whatever you're, you know, the race that's at night way later in the season. But it's a little bit shorter, so maybe you're not going to want 3 Dominators. So 1 to 2 per lineup. And the tough thing is this week, we don't have any pre-race data. So there's not going to be any practice data, which sucks because I love using practice information. I think that's a big edge that we can usually get each week. Didn't have that. We didn't have actual qualifying. We had a random draw based on owner's points, which was actually pretty cool. But yeah, there wasn't actually any actual qualifying. And also, this race is usually ran at night, and now it's going to be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's going to throw a wrench into things as well. And they haven't raced in like 2 months. So it's going to definitely be interesting. I'm really looking forward to this first turn when they turn left on turn 1. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Hopefully they all don't wreck. But just know it might be a little bit messy to start. Maybe they'll start off around 75, 80%, and then they'll start to get back in the groove. They're going to have the competition caution early on. They'll be able to make some adjustments. So I think the beginning of the race should be pretty interesting. Just hopefully all of our guys don't wreck out at the first turn. But they shouldn't. They're good drivers. Alright, so let's just go driver by driver now, which I'm pretty sure that's what everyone wants to do. So we're finally to it. But anyway, we got Kyle Busch. He comes in as the most expensive driver, like he is pretty much every single week. He is coming in at the biggest favorite. And he I'm going to say qualified, but you guys know what I mean. He got random draw 4th. And obviously, Kyle Busch is pretty much good at every single track. He's pretty much the best driver in the series. Him, Kevin Harvick, all those guys can be considered the best. But Kyle Busch, doing it for a long time, and obviously he's going to be good at most tracks, and that's going to hold true at Darlington. He's averaging 55 DraftKings points per race here, an average finish of 6, average running position of 7.9, average drive rating of 105.6. Now, it is interesting he doesn't have any wins. Now, he was close to it last year. He started 33rd last year, got all the way up to front, led over 100 laps, and then he almost got to Erik Jones at the end of the race, ended up scraping the wall a little bit, did not win the race, but he had over 100 DraftKings points. He went absolutely off. He's got 5 top 10s, 6 top 15s. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's going to contend for the win at the end of the race. I mean, there's a good chance he'd get a front lead some laps. Now, do I think he's going to lead the most laps in this race? I actually don't. Now, obviously he couldn't. I think he's an excellent play. I'm by no means fading him. I'm going to have a good amount of Kyle Busch. I could see myself probably having, I don't know, at least 20% Kyle Busch. So I definitely like him. It's just Brad Keselowski on the pole is a guy that I liked a lot heading into the week. And since he's on the pole, I mean, I think he's going to hold that for a while and definitely lead a good chunk of laps. And then after stage 1 ends, we'll see what happens. But never count Kyle Busch out. The guy can definitely get up front, lead some laps, and obviously he's going to be good at steep tracks. This is just track type form the last 10 races at steep tracks, averaging 67.4 DraftKings points per race, which is second best only behind Martin Truex Jr. Average finish of 6.6. I mean, obviously all these numbers are going to be good. 2 wins, 6 top 5s, 37.4 average laps led. Yeah, Kyle Busch, he's a very, very good driver. I could sit here and talk all day about how good Kyle Busch is. I also added momentum on my spreadsheet of how they are so far this season, so I'm excluding Daytona because that's a super speedway. Anything can happen. But I will say the JGR cars have not been that great, and you're going to notice that if you just look at the momentum here. Like Kyle Busch, I mean, he's been fine, but Denny Hamlin struggled a bit besides Daytona. Martin Truex Jr. struggled, although he was up front one race and ended up wrecking, and he actually came from the rear of that race. But all these cars have just not been that great. Erik Jones has been slow, and I just don't like that Toyota's not looked that strong so far, but I'm never going to discount Kyle Busch. And if there's any driver I trust to come out strong after not racing for a couple of months and just to wheel any car he's given, it's going to be Kyle Busch. So I think that's going to give him an advantage as well. He's been doing it forever. So I do like Kyle Busch. I think he's a pretty strong play. Now, if he doesn't lead any laps, he's going to be a very bad play at 12K. So if you're playing him, you're doing it with the assumption he's going to lead laps. So just know that, because if he finishes like second, doesn't lead any laps, it's not going to be a good play. So just know if you're playing Kyle Busch, has to dominate, and he can certainly do that. Kevin Harvick, he comes in as the second most expensive driver at $11,500. He qualified 6th. And originally I thought they were going to go by owner's points, so he's going to be on the pole. And I was going to love Kevin Harvick because, as you're going to see, he's been very, very good here. The numbers are excellent, but now it gives us a little bit of place differential too, starting 6th. So it gives you a little bit safer of a floor. Problem is, there's a lot of good drivers up front. So it's not like he's just going to get up front right away. And if he doesn't get up front, again, if any of these guys don't get up front, they're going to be pretty much bad plays, except Truex starting 15th. I mean, he's got a little bit of a floor there, but Harvick's got to get front lead laps, but he can certainly do that. His numbers are absolutely amazing at Darlington the past 6 races. I believe he ranks out first in every single category according to this recent track history off the top of my head. So he's averaging 80.4 DraftKings points per race here, average finish of 4.2, average running position of 4.9, which is amazing, average driver rating of 121.3, has a win, 5 top 5s, 6 top 10s, averaging nearly 100 laps led per race, the most fast laps. There's nothing bad I can say about Kevin Harvick. Yes, he's a good play, but just know if you're playing him, he has to get up front. Another thing I like for Kevin Harvick is he's coming into the season very, very strong. He's averaging 62.8 DraftKings points per race, which is more than any driver so far. Average finish of 6.3, average running position of 6.3, sorry, I lost my spot. Oh, 5.5, and average driver rating of 114.8. Does have a top 5, 3 top 10s, averaging 53 laps led per race, which is second most, and 29.7 fast laps, which is second most. So yes, Kevin Harvick, I think he's a very good play. You're definitely going to want to get exposure to him because there's certainly a good chance he could get up front, dominate this race, and win. So yes, if you're playing Harvick, he has to dominate. He can't just top 5, but there's definitely a good chance Harvick can get up front. So I do like Kevin Harvick quite a bit. Denny Hamlin, he qualified 10th. He comes in at 11,100. And I got to be honest, I don't see myself having too much Denny Hamlin because, look, I can't just tell you guys all these guys are amazing plays. They're all great here. None of them are bad here. I just don't see myself having too much Denny Hamlin. Am I going to have exposure? Yes, I'd make 150 lineups every single week. I'm in the big $10 tournament this week. It's 200K to first. I'm very excited. Wish me luck in there. Hopefully I'll see you guys in there as well. But I just don't see myself having too much Denny Hamlin. I think there's just better plays at better prices, to be honest. He's good here, though. He's averaging 46 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 11, average running position of 7.7. Does have a win here. He murdered a race few years ago here at Darlington. 3 top 5s. I mean, he's obviously good here. I don't know. JGR's been slow. I mean, I trust Kyle Busch, but it's going to be tough for me to get a lot of Denny Hamlin. I'm certainly going to have exposure. I mean, I'll probably have at least 10% because, there's certainly a chance Denny Hamlin can get up front and lead some laps. I mean, the guy's been on fire for the most part since last season, really. But just don't see myself having too much Hamlin because if you're looking at the momentum so far this season, he's only averaging 28 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 14.3, average running position of 18.4, which is very poor compared to all these drivers up front. Like, Truex has an average finish of 22, but at least his average running position is 9.4. I mean, that just shows you got a little bit unlucky in that one race when he wrecked out and was up front. So Hamlin's just really not been running that well. 1 top 10. He's led 0 laps so far. So I just don't see myself having too much Denny Hamlin. I'll have some, but it's probably not too much Denny Hamlin. Martin Truex Jr., he comes in at $10,800, the 4th most expensive driver. He qualified 15th, and that makes him a little interesting. So I don't think his chances of getting up front and leading laps are that high, but also qualifying 15th makes him interesting, and he's interesting. And he's also below 11K, so I like that he's a little bit cheaper. And if he does get up front and lead laps and get a top 5 at qualifying 15th, he's going to be a smash play. So I definitely want some exposure to Truex. Now, he hasn't got a top 5 here, I believe, in quite a few years, but he did win a race recently. He was on 2 previous optimal lineups, which I do have on my spreadsheet. So it's not like he's been bad here by any means, averaging 47 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 11.8 is not amazing. That's below Hamlin. Average running position of 9.8, average driver rating of 105. I mean, kind of similar numbers to Hamlin, but Hamlin does have more top 5. So I will say that. But he's also starting 5 spots further back than Hamlin. And Truex has also been better so far this year besides Daytona when Hamlin won that. But I exclude that stat because it's a super speedway. But if you're looking at the momentum heading into the season, I already talked about this, but he's been rough. It's 23.8 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 22. But I believe it was last race at Phoenix. He qualified, I think, 12th. Then he got sent to the rear. I forget. I think it was an engine change. And he actually got up front and led some laps, but then he ended up wrecking. So obviously that's going to hurt his average finish. But the average running position is 9.4, which is very, very solid. That's right on par with Kyle Busch, pretty much the same, except 0.1 off. Driver rating 84.9, a little disappointing. 1 top 15, that's it. But I think Martin Truex Jr. can bounce back. Now, I know he doesn't have Cole Pern anymore, so maybe that loss of that connection is going to hurt here after having some time off. Maybe they haven't gelled yet completely. But I still think Truex is going to be fine. We know he's one of the premier racers in the series, so I definitely want some exposure to Truex. I like that he qualified near mid-pack because that gives him a little bit of a floor as well. Brad Keselowski, he's a guy who had a lot of interest heading into the week. Now, he's usually a guy that tends to go lower owned, which I don't know why. And I was originally, when he was going by owner points, I think he was, I forget, was he 10th? I think he might have been 10th, somewhere around there. I thought he was going to go a little bit lower owned, but since they did the random draw, he actually ended up qualifying first, and I think that just makes him a pretty solid, safe choice for your first dominator in cash games. He's averaging 56.2 DraftKings points per race here, average finish of 8.2, average running position of 6, which I believe is second best of all drivers, second best drive rating of 114.1, does have a win here, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Obviously, if he just gets the top 5, doesn't lead any laps, he's going to be a bad play. But starting on the pole, he's got the clean air, he's going to get the jump on the restart. I like Brad Keselowski, and if these guys are going to take it a little cautious at the very beginning, he should just make sure he has the lead to start, and he should keep it for a while, hopefully the first stage. So I do like Brad Keselowski quite a bit. I think he's the most likely to lead the most laps in this race if he can just keep that first spot. Now, he's got a lot of good cars behind him. He's got Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, even Alex Bowman. I'm not really too worried about MDB or Eric Almirola. So really, he's just got to beat Bowman off that restart, and Brad Keselowski's going to have the advantage picking his lane. So I do like Kes quite a bit. I think he's a very good play. Momentum in this season so far, he's averaging 56.5 DraftKings points per race. Average finish is 7.7. I mean, all the numbers check out. He's been very good so far this season. So I do think Brad Keselowski is a very good play. I'll certainly have quite a bit of ownership to Brad K. If I'm playing cash games or sitting on a GPPs, he's probably going to be the dominator I plug in there first. Then I'll figure out the second one. So definitely like Brad Keselowski quite a bit. I was really interested in him heading into the week, and starting on the pole, I think he makes him a pretty solid choice. And he also comes in a bit of a discount to guys like Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, and that extra $1,000 you save could make quite a bit of difference. We're talking an upgrade from MDB to someone like Kurt Busch, which I think is very valuable. Going down, we have Joey Logano. He qualified 9th. He's 10,100. And this guy has been hot to start the season. Now, this is not his best track. He hasn't won here, but it's not like he's been bad. He does have 3 top 5s the past 6 races. He's only averaging 33 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 13, average running position of 8.9, average driver rating of near 100. Nothing really bad I can say about Joey Logano. And the thing I want to talk about the most is he has been very, very good so far to start the year. He has 2 wins, obviously 2 top 5s. He's averaging 60 DraftKings points per race. Best average finish of 4.7, average running position of 6.9, average driver rating of 110.8. Does have Paul Wolfe as his crew chief, and he knows Darlington very well, so I think that can work into his advantage as well. And starting 9th, he gives us some PD upside as well. So if you want to stack some Penske cars, go with Brad K and Joey Logano. I definitely think that's a solid way to go. I don't know, Joey Logano in cash might be a little iffy, but I mean, starting 9th and the price isn't bad. I don't mind that at all. So Joey Logano, certainly have interest in him. I like Brad K quite a bit more, but I still think they're both solid plays. Sorry, I spit on my computer screen. Not my keyboard, actually. But yeah, Joey Logano, I think he's fine. He's good at steep tracks. I mean, he does have 3 wins the past 10 races at steep tracks, and numbers are all going to check out here. So definitely like Joey Logano. And also forgot to mention for Martin Truex Jr. at steep tracks, he's very, very good here, averaging 70 DraftKings points per race, best average running position. So yes, I do like Joey Logano. I like all these guys. If I had to pick one to have the least amount of ownership, it's probably going to be Denny Hamlin. And yeah, I could see that's how it's going to go. So anyway, that's enough for the top tier drivers. We'll drop down to Chase Elliott in this 9K tier. I think this is a pretty interesting tier. So Chase Elliott comes in at 9,800. He qualified 11th. Now, this has not been a great Chase Elliott track, but the thing is, Hendrick Motorsports has been very fast to start the season. Chevys have been blazing fast, been the fastest cars on the track pretty much. I know Logano and Harvick have been great, but besides them, it's pretty much just been the Chevys here. Elliott's been strong. Bowman's been strong. Jimmie Johnson's been strong. Bowman's not been that great so far, but yeah, Hendrick's been fast, and I don't see why that would really change. So I like Chase Elliott. He's also below 10K, so I think that's nice. He's only averaging 30 DraftKings points per race and an average finish of 17.2, though, which kind of sucks. 14.1 average running position, and I don't mean sucks, but like compared to the other guys. And it only has 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 3 top 15s, though, but I think it's going to be hard for him to get up front, but man, the Chevys have shown a lot of speed so far this season, so if you're playing Chase Elliott, I think you're just banking on that early season speed to carry over, which I really wouldn't see why it wouldn't, because they really haven't been able to race, so I feel like the cars that have been fast are going to stay fast, and the cars that have been slow are probably going to stay slow until we can get some more adjustments going. So yeah, I expect a good running out of Chase Elliott. I think he's probably going to top 10, maybe even contend for a win at the end of the race, maybe top 5, but heading for momentum so far this season, Chase Elliott's been pretty much in one of his own class. He's got the best driver rating, averaging 60 DraftKings points per race, average running position of 7.7, top 5, 2 top 10s, averaging the most laps led so far per race, 54.3, averaging nearly 40 fast laps per race. So Chase Elliott, I like him. I don't know how much exposure I'm going to have to him yet. I'm still kind of trying to decide on that because 11th's kind of a weird spot because I don't think he's as likely to dominate as guys like Logano, obviously Keselowski. I mean, I feel like Truex probably has a better chance of dominating than Elliott. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'm not sure yet, but it's a little tricky. I mean, you got guys like Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch in front of him, so I think it's going to be a little hard for Chase Elliott to get up front lead laps, but he's been fast so far this season, so nothing really bad I can say about Elliott. Ryan Blaney, he's a guy that's had a lot of bad luck so far this season. I've actually played a lot of Ryan Blaney too, so it kind of sucks that he's having bad luck. So these numbers are not going to accurately reflect how good he's been so far this season, not the track history, but if you're talking about momentum, which I want to talk about first. So Blaney, he's got an average finish of 22.3. That looks pretty terrible, and he's averaging 24.3 DraftKings points per race, but he's been really good this year. He's just getting really unlucky. At Daytona, he almost won that race, and then he ended up crashing Ryan Newman, which was obviously terrible. Then the one race, he almost won the race. It was him and Alex Bowman at Fontana. They were 1-2 pretty much all race. Blaney was having a great race. And I believe that was the one where he, with like 2 laps left, he had a pit because he had a loose wheel. I think that's a loose tire. So that sucked, but he's just been getting unlucky, but he's been having a pretty good season. Besides that, he's been showing a lot of speed so far. And again, if you want to go with the Penske stack, I totally get it. Keselowski, Logano, and Ryan Blaney, they've all been very good so far this year, so I could totally see you doing that. Although I will say it's not been a great track for Ryan Blaney. He's got an average finish of 20.4, only averaging 20 DraftKings points per race. Average driver rating of 68.6, no top 10s, only 2 top 15s, no laps led. So I will say Ryan Blaney's not really on my radar. I'm not even sure if I'll have any. I mean, since I'm making 150 lineups, I'll probably have a sprinkle of him just in case because he showed speed so far this season. But Ryan Blaney's not someone I have a lot of interest in as of right now. But someone I have a lot of interest in, and he might be one of my favorite plays in the entire slate, is Erik Jones. And these numbers are going to pop out to you, especially with this price range. Because, I mean, his dark shades of green belong into that 10K up in tier. He's just been very, very good at Darlington. Now, he only has a 3-race sample size, which is not as much as these guys with 5 to 6 races. But it's what we have to go off of, and he's been very good here. Averaging the second most DraftKings points per race at 63.9. Average finish of 4.7, which is second best. Average running position of 7.6, which I believe is third best. And average driver rating of 110.8. Did win the race last year, held off Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. 3 top 10s. Every single race he's been here, he's top 10, and he's starting 20th. So I think he's one of the best place differential plays on the slate. Now, it kind of sucks that he's priced up to 9,200. I was hoping he'd be in that 8K range. But DraftKings was a little bit smart, priced him up, and it's deservedly so. And he could lead laps too, averaging 26.3 laps led per race, 22 fast laps. And, I mean, I don't have really anything bad to say about Erik Jones. I will say JGR has been pretty slow to start the season. And if you look at the momentum so far, it's been pretty rough for Jones. It has 1 top 15, driver rating of 70.6, average running position of 16.7, average finish of 20.3, average DK points of 22.8. Not been great for Erik Jones so far this season, but this is a really good track for Erik Jones. So I'm banking on that recent track history from if I play in Jones, and I'm certainly going to have some Erik Jones. So definitely like him. Definitely get some of him in your lineups. Would I play him in cash games? I would. It's just he's really expensive, so I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to fit him in. I have not built lineups yet, but I know there's a lot of good cheap plays, so maybe it might be easy to fit Jones in. And if it is, definitely like him in cash, and I definitely like him in GBP too. Now, Alex Bowman. It's going to be an interesting case this week because he is second, which leaves really no room for error for Alex Bowman. I originally thought he was going to be starting around 5th, which is what it was in owner points, which, again, it was a little bit tricky. Second makes it even a little bit worse because there's even less room for error. So pretty much if you're playing Bowman, he has to get up front, lead laps. And that's something he's done so far this season. He absolutely crushed Fontana, had over 100 DraftKings points, showed speed all weekend that translated into the actual race. And again, he's part of Hendrick Motorsports. He's a Chevy, and they've been very, very fast so far this season. So I don't expect them to be coming out slow in this race. But the problem is he's got to beat out Brad Keselowski early on, and I don't know how easy that's going to be. Brad Keselowski, I mean, obviously he's a veteran. He knows this track very well. He's been very, very good here. And I will say Alex Bowman has struggled at this track. In 4 races, he's only averaging 26 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 23.5, average running position of 25.5. I mean, it's just been very, very bad for Bowman. Only 1 top 20. 1 top 20. It's been rough for Bowman, I got to say. But the thing is, he's good at these types of tracks. He's good at steep tracks, averaging 36 DraftKings points per race at steep tracks, 12.9 average finish, average running position of 13.6, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. It's not like he's bad at steep tracks at all. It's just he's really struggled at Darlington so far. It can be a tough track. But momentum this season, I mean, he's right up there with the elite so far, averaging 57 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 9.3, average running position of 7.5, average driver rating of 109.5, does have a win. It's been good. It's usually tough sledding, but it's been good sledding for Alex Bowman so far. So if you're playing Bowman, you're probably fading Keselowski because I really don't see both of them working out. Now, it could happen where the guy starts first and second. They both make the optimal if they both lead like half the race. I just don't find it that likely, and I like Brad Keselowski a lot more. I think he wins that jump at the beginning of the race. So if you're playing Bowman, you're probably fading Keselowski. Now, you can play both. I might have some lineups with both. I'm not wouldn't do it in cash games, but Bowman's been fast. It's just I don't think he's going to lead laps with Keselowski right in front of him. So he's risky. You can play him in GPPs, but not play him in cash games. William Byron, his numbers are going to look pretty awful here, but he did have a little bit of an incident one race, so it's going to make his numbers look pretty bad. And he did start on the pole. So, but his average finish is 28, but this is why I like to use average running position because I think it paints a better picture. So his average running position is 11.5. So he's basically had like a top 10 car, but he's just getting into some trouble where his average finish is 28. So I expect him to be fine here. And again, Chevys have been fast. He's part of Hendrick Motorsports. Now, he's not been great this year. He tends to fade late in races, it seems like, which sucks because I tend to play some William Byron in because he usually qualifies around here. Not usually, but it seems like he has been. But then he'll be having a solid race and he tends to fade late. I don't know what it is, but I think he's going to be fine starting 18th. Now, he's a little bit more expensive than I'd like him to be, which makes it kind of tough to fit him in lineups, but we do have some good value plays, so I think it might be easy to fit him in if you want to make him your place differential play in that lineup. But, I mean, 2 races here have not been great for him, but the 11.5 average running position I do like. But if you look at the momentum this season, average running position of 11.8, average driving at 86.9, no top 10, does have a top 15, so it's not been great for Bowman, only averaging 35 DraftKings points per race. But he's fine. He qualified 18th. He's probably going to move up. He'll probably finish anywhere from 10 to 15th, which if you're playing him for 8,700, you're probably hoping he finishes towards 10th. But, I mean, I like the guy right below him a lot more, but William Byron's fine. I'll have some ownership to him. But probably one of my favorite plays on the entire slate is Kurt Busch, who comes in 8,500. He qualified 22nd, and I think him and Erik Jones are just elite place differential plays because these guys could top 5 in all honesty. They're that good at Darlington. So if you just look at Kurt Busch's numbers at Darlington, averaging 40 DraftKings points per race, and keep in mind he did wreck in one of these races where he finished near the back. So his numbers are so good even with him crashing in one of those races. So average finish of 14.5, so that's going to be a little skewed of that crash. But average running position of 8.8, average drive rating of 97.9, does have a top 5, 4 top 10s. And again, remember, he wrecked in one of those races. And he's gotten up front, led laps too. He led nearly 100 laps to one race recently. Average 25.2 fast laps per race here. I like Kurt Busch a lot. I think he's an excellent play. He's good at these types of tracks, really good at Darlington, 8,500. It's a fair price tag. Honestly, he could probably be close to the 9K tier. So Kurt Busch, like him quite a bit. Chevys have been fast, so Kurt Busch, definitely an excellent play. I think he's going to be pretty high owned too, but I think it's for a good reason. Definitely probably want to play him in cash games. Jimmie Johnson, he qualified 8th. Now, I know he's getting a little old, a lot old. He's retiring, and he's not as great as he once was. He doesn't get up front and dominate really anymore, but Chevys have been fast, I will say that, but I don't really see myself playing too much Jimmie Johnson qualifying 8th. There's not much room for error. Could he top 5? Sure, he could top 5, but averaging 25 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 20, average running position of 16.6. I mean, the numbers are fine, but I mean, he's got a top 5. He's got a top 5 to be optimal, which he can do. Chevys have been fast, but I just don't really see it happening. I could see him finishing outside the top 10, which will not get the job done. I might have a little bit of Jimmie Johnson just banking on that Chevy speed so far, but I mean, he's been good too so far this season. Like I said, Chevys have been fast, averaging 45.7 DraftKings points per race so far. Average finish of 8, which is right where he's qualified. Average running position of 8.9. Average drive rating of 97.1. Does have a top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 15. So I think he's going to be fine. I'm not going to full fade him. I'll have a little bit, but I just don't. It's going to be tough for him to be optimal starting 8th. I will say that. Clint Bowyer, he qualified 13th. He's fine. He's pretty good at steep tracks. I will say that. Has an average finish of 10.4 at steep tracks. Average running position of 11.5. Averaging 40 DraftKings points per race at these types of tracks. But I will say Darlington has not been the greatest track for Clint Bowyer. Average only 23 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 22.2. Average running position of 20.8. That's a pretty bad average running position. I will say that. Average drive rating of 67.1, which is the second worst we've been through so far. Alex Bowman's only comes in worse at 59. So it's not the best track for Clint Bowyer, but he's been having a pretty decent season. Does have a top 10 here, 2 top 15s, 8,100. I think the price is fair. If you look at momentum so far this year, I think I already went over that actually. Well, he does have a top 5, top 10, but I don't see myself having too much Clint, but he might be sprinkled in my lineups if he just fits at the end. I want to get different, get some pivots off of guys like Kurt Busch. Matt Kenseth. So this is an interesting play this week. So he's going to be in the car for Kyle Larson. And if you guys don't know anything about Kyle Larson at Darlington, it's one of his best tracks. Like Kyle Larson was in quite a few optimal lineups the past 5 years at Darlington. He is very, very good here. And Matt Kenseth's going to be in that exact same car. Probably running that setup, so it's going to be interesting. It's his first race in a while. We know he's been retired. But Matt Kenseth's been pretty good at Darlington, too. So past 5 races for Matt Kenseth at Darlington, averaging 40 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 12.4, which is right where he qualified, average running position of 14.8, average drive rating of 91.2, 3 top 10s. He's actually fairly priced, so at $7,900, I don't hate Matt Kenseth, but, I mean, he hasn't raced in a while. He's in a new car. It's going to be interesting, but this car does perform very, very well. We'll see. Matt Kenseth's interesting. Maybe I'll sprinkle him in a little bit, but I'm not expecting too much out of Kenseth. Aric Almirola, I don't have a lot of interest in him. He's just starting way too high. He has an average finish here of 19.7, running position of 19.8, 2 top 15s, and that's about it. Not going to lead laps. Drive rating of 67.9. There's just not a lot not to like. There's just not a lot of like to. That's a lot of likes in one sentence. I don't like Almirola. That's what I'm trying to say. He's starting way too high. Not a lot of upside. Just don't see how he would make the optimal lineup. Matt Dibenedetto, I actually really like this guy. He's one of my favorite drivers. But kind of part of Team Penske with the Wood brothers. But he's just way too high. I mean, I was going to have some interest in him if he was going to qualify in the teens. But this is just not going to... No, it was impossible to qualify in the teens. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway. Starting third, that's just way too high for me. He's not going to pass Brad Keselowski. Maybe he'll pass Alex Bowman, but it's just a little too high for Matt Dibenedetto. Probably going to push Keselowski to start, so not a lot of interest there. Probably won't even have any. Maybe 1 or 2 lineups just in case he gets up front and lead laps, just in case. But I just don't see that happening, so probably no Matthew Dibenedetto for me. Austin Dillon. So you guys know if you've been watching my videos, I don't like Austin Dillon, but I tend to play him all the time because he qualifies in good spots. I gotta say though, he's pulling me in. He qualified 16th, which I was hoping it'd be a little further back, but he's good at Darlington. Very, very good. Averaging 40 DraftKings points per race here. Average finish of 12.5, which is the best we've seen, well, since Kenseth, but besides that, best we've seen since Erik Jones. And I lost my spot. Average running position of 16.5, average drive rating of 77.3, 4 top 15s, 5 top 20s, 1 top 5, 1 top 10. It's been a good track for Austin Dillon. He's averaging 5.2 place differential spots per race. I don't mind it. I don't like playing Austin Dillon. He tends to always screw me, but I'm willing to give him a shot. Starting 16th, it's pushing it a little bit, but I still think he can move up. He's just been very good here, so I don't mind Austin Dillon. Maybe not too much of him just because he tends to screw us, but I wouldn't mind sprinkling in some Austin Dillon. I think he's fine. Tyler Reddick, I expect him to be one of the highest owned drivers on the entire slate. Xfinity Series, he's a wall rider, which you pretty much have to do at Darlington to drive well here, and that's what Tyler Reddick does well. So I think he's going to be an excellent play here. He qualified 29th. He's going to move up. We know that. He's been really good in races so far this year. He got up front one of the tracks, almost got up front and dominated almost. But if you look at the momentum so far this season, he has an average finish of 20, but just keep in mind, he wrecked one of those races. Average running position of 15.4. That's, if you cut his starting spot in half, I mean, that's pretty darn good. Has a top 15, averaging 33 DraftKings points per race. I think Tyler Reddick's an excellent play. Usually rookies at Darlington can be a little bit tricky, but this track just sets up really well for Tyler Reddick. Starting 30th, he's been good so far this year. He's one of my favorite plays in the entire slate. I would probably look for him in cash games for sure. Chris Buescher, I think he's another solid play. So if you were going by owner's points, he was going to start up near the front of where his section was. I think it was like around 14th, if I remember correctly. But now that he's starting 24th, I like Chris Buescher quite a bit at 7K. I mean, we have a lot of good 7 and 6K plays, even some 5K plays. So I'm actually pretty excited for this week because I think building lineups is going to be really fun. So anyway, Chris Buescher, it's been a really strong track for Buescher here at Darlington. Average finish of 14.8, averaging nearly 40 DraftKings points per race. Average driver rating of 73, 4 top 20, so he's pretty much a lock to move up. I mean, 4 out of 4 races so far, he's finished in the top 20, and he's starting 24th, averaging 7.5 place differential spots per race, which is the best out of all these drivers here besides Ty Dillon. So I think Chris Buescher is an excellent play. Another guy you can play in cash games. Certainly wouldn't fault you for that. I'd rather play Tyler Reddick in cash for 200 more. But if it came at 200 salary difference, I think Chris Buescher is going to be fine. I think he's got a better chance of finishing higher than Tyler Reddick does. So don't mind Chris Buescher at all. And he's had a good season so far. If you're looking at momentum, he has an average finish of 15.7, Average running position of 19.3 is not great, but he does have 3 top 20s in 3 races so far, excluding Daytona. So I do think Chris Buescher is a very solid play, so don't mind him at all. Now we're going down to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He has struggled at Darlington. They call him Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It would never surprise me if he wrecks it on a track, but not been a good track for him. Only averaging 14.8 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 25, 2 top 20s, 1 top 15. He's starting 23rd though. It's not terrible. I just don't expect much out of Stenhouse, but he's actually had a decent season so far. Average finish of 15. I should probably take a break, get some water really quick. I will say though, the average finish of 15, or was it 15? Yeah, it's a little skewed because the one race was a little bit chaotic at the end. And I think he finished like second, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he got a top 5. I think he finished second. So that's going to skew the numbers a little bit, but I just don't have too much interest in Stenhouse. If you have to sprinkle him in, I get it, but I think there's better plays below him, to be honest. And I mean, for 200 more, it's going to be Buescher. Ryan Newman, he's back. Rocket Man. I'm very nice to see him back. I don't know if you guys saw that wreck at Daytona. If you're new to watching NASCAR or just new to DFS for NASCAR purposes, Ryan Newman almost got killed in a wreck on Daytona. It was terrible to see, but he's back miraculously. So I think he can have a pretty good race here. He's been pretty good at Darlington, averaging nearly 35 DraftKings points per race here. Average finish of 13.3, average running position of 14.6, 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s, 5 top 20s. I mean, there's a good chance he's going to move up, and he's pretty cheap at $6,500. Usually Newman's a little bit more expensive than this, so I think we're getting him at a discount, probably because he hasn't raced in a while, but I don't mind Newman at all. So really no other numbers I can go off because he only has 1 race this season, and it was at Daytona. But I do think Ryan Newman's a decent play at $6,500 for sure. Seems just a little bit too cheap. I mean, I think it'd be near that 7K tier. Cole Custer, he's going to be a fade for me. I just don't see how he's going to start 14th and be optimal. I mean, it's a rookie at Darlington, which usually spells trouble. So Custer is just way too high. Don't have any data to use on him anyway. Probably going to pass there. He's in good equipment, and Daniel Suarez was not the worst here in recent years, and that's the car he's in. I'm getting him confused with someone else. Daniel Suarez has not been that great here. As you're going to see below, he's only averaging 6 DraftKings points per race. Who am I getting him confused with? I don't remember. But anyway, Cole Custer, not that much interest. But Daniel Suarez, look, I don't like playing Daniel Suarez, kind of like how I don't like playing Austin Dillon. But he qualified 37th, so we're going to have interest, and he's only 6,200. Average finish of 26. Now, he's in much worse equipment than he used to be in. He used to be in that Stewart-Haas equipment that Cole Custer's in. Big downgrade now in the 96 car, but, I mean, starting 37th, he's got to move up. He's not going to finish below Josh Bilicki and B.J. McLeod, I'm almost certain, unless his car doesn't start the race like it did the one track, but I like him. It's gross to say, but I do like Daniel Suarez. I think he's going to be a pretty solid play. If you look at his momentum so far this season, it's not good. Average finish of 26.3. But the thing is, if he finishes 26th, starts 37th at 6,200, we're happy. We're dancing down the street. So we'll take it. Daniel Suarez, nothing pretty about it, but he's a nice, cheap place differential play. That's pretty much it. Ryan Preece starting 25th. He's been pretty awful to start the year. If you look at his numbers, average finish of 28.3. Only averaging 7 DraftKings points per race. If you look at his one race he had here, which was last year, he finished 22nd, which it's not terrible starting 25th at 6,100, but I don't see myself having too much Ryan Preece. I think there's better plays that are cheaper that are just going to start further back. So probably not too much Ryan Preece. Bubba Wallace is going to be a pass for me, just starting a little bit too high for me. I like playing Bubba usually, but average finish of 25 here in 2 races. He's been good to start the season, I will say that. Average finish of 17.3, does have a top 10, but starting a little bit too high for me. I don't have much interest in Bubba. I'd much rather play the guy below him, John Hunter Nemechek. He's been having a pretty solid season so far. I feel like I've been playing him a lot. He qualified at 34th. He's going to move up. Now, he's a rookie. He's not going to have any data here, but if you just look at the momentum so far this season, average finish of 24.7, which again is not great, but he's below 6K, and that would be 10 place differential spots if he can just do what he's doing on average so far this season. Now, I know Darlington's going to be a little bit tricky, but I think he's going to move up here outside of a wreck. Average running position of 21.8. Did wreck in one of the tracks. I forget which one it was, but he was running really, really well. I think he was in the top 10, top 15. Ended up getting spun out, but he's been strong to start the season. I think he's going to be very popular, and I think it's for a good reason. So John Hunter Nemechek, definitely a good play in my opinion. Corey LaJoie, fade. Average finish of 30 here. No thank you. Ty Dillon, I think he's going to be one of the highest owned plays on the entire slate. He's very good. I had a lot of interest in him heading into the week, and qualifying 33rd at 5,600. I mean, I don't get the price, first of all, because he's very good at Darlington for given the kind of driver he is and the price range he's usually in. I thought he'd be at least in the 6K range. Now he's 5,600. This is the mispricing. I expect him to be extremely popular. He is your cash cheap play. Like, you're playing him in cash. You're not getting really around that. You're going to play him in cash games. Averaging 35.8 DraftKings points per race here. Average finish of 18. Average lane position of 21.4. Has a top 15. Averaging 9.3 place differential spots per race at Darlington, which is better than any single driver. And if you look at the momentum so far this season, Ty Dillon's got an average finish of 17. Average running position of 22.1. Averaging nearly 35 DraftKings points per race. Just have top 15. Nothing not to like about Ty Dillon here. I think the pricing's just silly on him. He should be probably over 6K. So definitely like Ty Dillon. He's the guy you're plugging in for cash games, and you're cheap for the cheap driver. Brennan Poole, if you look at the momentum, it's not been terrible given the price he is. The average finish of 30. Starting 35th though. I mean, you're probably going to move a couple spots, but I mean, it's just 100 more for Ty Dillon, and Ty Dillon's in better equipment, so just give me Ty Dillon. I don't really have much interest in Poole. Michael McDowell's fine. He has an average finish of 26 here. Should move up a couple spots, only averaging 20 DraftKings points per race. He's probably going to finish around 25th, 26th. I mean, nothing exciting, but he'll move up a couple spots. He should be a lot lower owned than Ty Dillon, so if you just want to fade that chalk and hope Ty Dillon gets into some trouble, you could do that, but I definitely think I was trying to thought, but I think McDowell is okay. GPP pivot off of Ty Dillon, but I'd still rather play Ty Dillon in GPPs. Timmy Hill, no thank you. This is not iRacing. Reed Sorensen, no thank you. BJ McLeod, no thank you. Garrett Smithley, heck no at 26, no way. Joey Gase, no. Quinn Huff, no. JJ Yaley, no. And I know I forgot to put Josh Bilicki on here, my bad, but no thank you on him either. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. As low as I'm willing to go is McDowell, but I'd much rather play Ty Dillon. But we finally got through the entire player pool. I'm going to have my article up later tonight. I'll have projections, rankings, cheat sheets, all that stuff up later, probably tonight or tomorrow. Tweak them on Saturday, build lineups. And I might be doing a live stream on Sunday, so you guys can let me know if you'd be interested in that. But if you made it through the entire video, let me know in the comments below. If you did, that's impressive. I'm not sure if I'd even make it through the entire video, so if you did, let me know. Thanks for watching. Hope this video was helpful. If it was, remember to leave a like. If it wasn't helpful, I guess you could leave a dislike. It's only going to hurt my feelings a little bit. I'll get over it eventually. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. Support me on Patreon if you want. Really appreciate it. And that's going to be it. Wish you guys the best of luck. Stay safe. And yeah, that's it.